there's so much going on in week 2. So many good games, especially in that 1 o'clock hour. We had multiple games going to overtime. So Jack, why don't you start us off? What do you got for the best and worst?
I'm going to start us off. This is a take. I was not bold enough to take this team to win, but I've been talking about them, and that's the Falcons. That's the Falcons squeezing out a 1-point victory here off the back of a very, very bold fourth down conversion. Especially in my mind, bold because it was a halfback toss on fourth down. I feel like I see that a lot. The outside run on fourth down, I feel like I see that fail a lot, but it did not. Kept the clock running. It's got into even easier field goal range. They were able to run it down and get the win off a field goal. Just going to Bijan Robinson here. I want to highlight him. 19 carries, 124 yards, 6.5 a carry, that is. And he caught 4 passes for 48 yards. That's a lot of yards out of this guy with the number 7 pick, I think it was. And their backup running back, they rushed with their backup 16 times. He had a 1,000-yard season last year. Got 16 carries, 48 yards, only 3 a carry. But again, that and Ritter, again, 10 carries himself, 10 carries, 39 yards. This is a team that ran the ball. And against a Packers team, I thought would be easily prepared to stop it with a lot of the talent they have on that front 7. And well, they weren't. That was 211 rushing yards, which is more yards than it's actually about the same amount of yards the Packers got just in general. So highlight that as a high point. Bijan Robinson, but also that run game that the Falcons are putting on, as well as the defense to hold the Packers to what I sent you a stat. It was like 150 fourth quarter yards for the Falcons to like 11 by the Packers. They held them to 0 points in the fourth quarter. So it was also a defensive stand, but yeah, just want to highlight that Falcons team. Interesting to watch.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to the Falcons. They're 2-0. A lot of smart people, not me, thought that they would be good this year. Yeah. I had doubts about Ritter, but last week he kind of just played it straight up, but looked tight and nervous. This week he did make some mistakes, but he seemed to play a better game.
A bit more confident, yeah.
Yes, 100% confidence, cohesive game, running, passing the ball. And I don't know, it seems to be coming together over there a little bit with Ritter, so shout out to him.
Potential 4th seed action.
Lock him in at the 4th seed. How about another best? Come on, guys. The best division in football last year. They had 3 playoff teams. The NFC Beast supremacy continues, okay? Not a single one of them lost this week. Now, I know what you're thinking. The Giants? Yeah, it's no biggie. They were just down. They were just like down 21 in the third quarter.
Yeah, 21.
No biggie. I mean, it was against the Cardinals, but they get a win. Washington also playing a terrible first half against the Broncos, but we could talk about the Broncos later and worse. But they get a W, and Eagles and Cowboys as well. All these NFC East teams scored over 30 this week and got W's. Shout out to the NFC East.
Yeah, I would say another team. Let's go with the worst here, and that's gonna be the Bears. It's gonna be the Bears. They've lost again. Not as terrible as that Green Bay loss, but again, really not a good game. Baker Mayfield putting up some great numbers against them, which, Baker's Baker. I think he's going to have a long career in that Ryan Fitzpatrick like role, which is not an insult, right? We all know Fitzpatrick's name. The fact that I can say he's retired for multiple years and I can, we both know who he is a nice sign for him. But really, I mean, they really did not do much this game, and is really feels bad, especially in the division. Yes, I think every team in the NFC North lost this week. A bit of an anti-NFC East. Every team lost, but for the Bears, it's like, well, like they lost, but they still feel the most out of it, right? The Vikings, Lions, and Packers all put in good college tries on their losses. The Bears, both of these weeks haven't had much.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And you start to look at who has had the worst 2 weeks going through the, through at 8:00 on Sunday, right? And if the Giants had actually gotten blown out by Arizona, you'd say them. But
it would be them. Yeah.
But they came back, right? So now you have to say
they did.
people saying the Bears are ready, they're going to take that next step, and they haven't really looked close. And especially to lose to the Bucks, who people aren't very hot on the Bucks either. So, and the Packers, who people weren't really super hot on, although they seem to be good. Some people had them winning that division, so what are you going to do? But as a little best there, 2-0 Bucks. How about that? Falcons and Bucks both 2-0
makes that NFC South competitive.
That's right. I'm going to do a worst here. Let's go to Kellen Moore and the Chargers. All right. Now, I'm going to be honest. Herbert has looked fantastic. He really has. But it seems like they're also, really committed to the deep ball and the deep pass, which has been great because Herbert has been playing fantastic. It's just somehow, and maybe it's not Kellen Moore's fault, but somehow the Chargers just always are going to lose. And I only say Kellen Moore because they got the ball to start overtime. They drove down the field, kicked the field goal to tie it, go into overtime. And they get the ball, and they go 3 and out. They didn't gain a single yard. 3 deep passes, incompletions to start overtime. That's just what they drew up, right? And I understand because
it's modern NFL.
Yeah, it's modern NFL, and Herbert's great, but you kick it to the Titans, and they just are able to get good field position, drive, and kick a field goal to win it. And this is, I also didn't have the Chargers in the playoffs because this kind of always happens. And I only shout out Kellen Moore because, frankly, it seems like the Cowboys' offense is just being called better by dummy Mike McCarthy. What's going on? I don't get it, right? Maybe we'll see a little bit further down the line. And Herbert's played great. It hasn't necessarily just been the Chargers offense that's the problem. But just in general, Chargers going to charge. What do you got, Jack?
Yeah, great analysis there. Chargers have charged another game. They're down 0-2 to start the season. Do not have that easy of a schedule, I don't think, right? They still second place schedule. I know they had to play the Patriots, for example. They had to play the Chiefs twice. The Raiders obviously got crushed in Buffalo. That not going to be my loss, but not going to be my loser of the week. But yeah, that's still tough break for them. A spiritual winner here. Spiritual winner. The most important type of winner this week. I know with the Rams, and that is a lot of analysts, right, ourselves included, I would say, had been counting them out. And yes, last week they had a great game against the Seahawks, but still a lot of people, right, are like, yeah, this is a win, but is this the Seahawks returning to 4? It's a week 1. There's a lot of factors there, but no. Matthew Stafford has a great game, even with 2 interceptions. I would still say has a great game. And they play the 49ers very close. They were they were tied at halftime, but they kept this game close the entire time, I would say, most of the game, and really just, I feel like, played well, which is a situation after last year we weren't super expecting, even with Matthew Stafford coming back, I would say. And the reason I would say it's a spiritual victory is it's against the 49ers, a team a lot of people are hot on. And last year we were super hot on, at least I know I was crazy hot on them. And, and I'm still hot on them. We were last week, crushed the Steelers. For the Rams to play this game as close as they were after the sort of expectations a lot of people had for them, I think is good.
Especially considering 49ers have beat them like 9 times in a row. So, but it still was a great game. They don't match up well against the 49ers, and clearly they're in a different, 49ers are in Super Bowl contender, and Rams are should have been in the middle of a full blowout.
Playoff contender, yeah.
Right. Well, they might be a playoff contender, but going into the season, everyone would think that they would be just completely just out of it, right? But so that's good for the Rams. I agree. I just want to shout out the overtime game, Seahawks versus Lions. I should have stuck with my guns and went with the Seahawks. I wanted to because I feel good about the Seahawks. They ended up pulling out a game, but frankly, it was just great offense all around by these guys. Jared Goff had a huge game, and also Geno Smith, 328 yards, 2 TDs, as well as the game winner. Super fun game to watch. 2 teams that a lot of people I think like watching. And I obviously I like the Seahawks a lot, and this team and Geno. So shout out to them. One of the best games of the weekend.
Yeah, I would say great, very entertaining. Rematch of last season, there was a similarly super high scoring game. I remember it was higher scoring than this between the Seahawks and the Lions. The Seahawks also won. But yeah, definitely great game all around. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it just definitely excited to see both these teams next week after the performance in this game, especially the Seahawks, since they bounced back after a loss rather than the Lions, bouncing down after a win. You get to be even more interested in seeing them next week.
Yeah. You got another worse, Jack?
Yeah, got another worse. Oh yeah, wait, I do. Let me just. You know what? I mentioned it earlier, and I really should mention it again. And that's the Raiders getting blown out 38-10. 38-10. Jimmy G 2 picks. Am I reading that right? They rushed the ball very few times. Josh Jacobs 9 rushes for -2 yards. Yes, I said that correctly. Really not doing a whole lot. Devontae Adams had 84 yards. That nice for him, but they lost by 28 against the Bills team, who I think was really just taking out their frustrations. It was really the Bills do this sometimes. They can have a tough loss. I remember it the past season or two. They have a tough loss that against teams like that matters, and then they'll take a team like the Raiders and just blow them out, just get all that frustration out. Which they did this week against the Raiders, who somehow won last week against the Broncos. Which really, I think this says the most out of the Broncos than any of the 3 teams I've just named. I think it says the most out of the Broncos.
You know what? You beat me to the segue, Jack, because I was just about to say, who the Broncos lost, or who the Raiders beat last week was the Broncos, right? And the Broncos would actually be up 21-3 in the second quarter to Washington. They'd end up letting Washington score 11 to end the quarter, and then they would end up losing 35-33. And I just don't understand what people like about this Denver team. I don't understand what people like about Sean Payton. Yes. I'm here to make enemies, all right, on 710 Sports. You got a guy who, frankly, was suspended for an entire year for basically allowing coaches and players to hurt other NFL players, right? And then he goes on TV, and everyone's like, "Oh, this guy's a genius. This guy's offensive brilliant." I mean, he kicks one onside kick in the Super Bowl, and it's like this guy's a brainiac, right? And frankly, I just don't see it or hear it on the field or off the field. While he was a broadcaster, I just don't understand it. And people are saying like, oh, well, maybe it was Nathaniel Hackett, whatever. Maybe it's Russell Wilson, whatever. But Sean Payton's supposed to fix him, right? And here we are again, right? You can't win. They can't win.
I mean, really, the interesting thing is Russ had a pretty good game. 18 for 32, 308 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick, and it's about 56 yards on the ground. All Russ, right? Russ cooking that up. That's pretty good against what I would say a half decent Commanders team. At least front 7. I know their secondary is developing, but in this game they gave up 35 points to the Commanders, a team that the Cardinals defense held to 20. I think the Cardinals defense held them to 20 last week. I would have expected more of the Broncos defense, especially how heralded they were coming into the season, how great they were, last season historically. I think it's definitely tough for them to give up this many points and to let the Commanders come back. Of course, a comeback's comeback's a whole team effort. But for the fact the defense specifically to give up that many points against the Commanders, I'm surprised by it. Yeah, especially without that many turnovers.
Yeah, it's a mess over there. And I said this last week. How many head coaches can you have and still maintain a fantastic defense? And maybe there's something starting there. You gave really excellent factual analysis there, where I gave a more emotional reaction,
vibes-based analysis,
a vibes-based analysis. But still, the Broncos are bad. There's nothing else to say. I'm going to sneak one in here at the buzzer. You take. Can as well if you want. But how about DeAndre Swift? Traded in the offseason, had a guy drafted to take his position as a rookie. He gets sent off to the Eagles for a 4th-round pick, and just casually 175 yards from scrimmage. I mean, yes, it was against Minnesota, but good for that guy. And I'm all about the run this week, I guess. Good. So shout out to him.
I mean, yeah, that was a big. I'm not going to add one, but I will piggyback on that. Yeah, that's a team. The Eagles committed to the run, and it worked against, of course, the Vikings not having a renowned running defense, but still, that worked. I think DeAndre Swift. I'm excited to see how that continues playing out, because I know part of the concern for the Vikings was potential injury history and stuff like that. So yes, he had an amazing game. I'm just gonna defend the Lions who let him go. And yes, I don't know if I'll defend drafting at the line. Just a quick segue to the Lions. They drafted this running back, and then their starter guy gets hurt. David Montgomery, I believe, gets hurt, goes out, and then they don't hand the ball to him. Jameer Gibbs. They're not handing it off to him. They're handing it off to the third string guy. I'm kind of surprised by just from a, I don't know.
I agree. It's odd. Something must be going on over there. They have some concerns with the way he runs the ball or something. He doesn't see the holes, but